That's right. Even though it doesn't feel like it, soon it's going to be the Royal Rumble, and then it will be WrestleMania, and then we'll be crying because where the hell is the time going? But because I am a wrestling nerd, I thought we should all sit down today and try and predict the WrestleMania 41 card, even though it's not till April 2024. Now, I have gone with 8 matches on Saturday and on a Sunday, only because WrestleMania 40, WWE did 7 matches on the Saturday and 7 matches on the Sunday, and they can't help themselves. They're always going to add one. Now, a lot of these are totally crazy, and there are a lot of superstars who haven't made the cut, so I'm sure when we do look back on this, I will be completely wrong. But when I went through it, I was mostly like, you know what? I would want to see all of these. So let's get into it. So Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Straight away you'd be like, oh, Simon, that doesn't make any sense. But the way I look at it like this, they are not getting any younger. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just the way of life. That's what happens. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. And I need to see them have their one-on-one match at WrestleMania, right? It would just make me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. Because we know their history. We knew how happy we were when they got back together at the Royal Rumble 2023, or whenever the flub it was. But now I want to go the other way. And before they do retire or leave WWE, or who knows, whatever the flub they're going to do, I need to see it on the grandest stage. They're also in Vegas, which doesn't tie in at all, but I've said it now. So this is me more trying to manifest this, especially because even though he went back to being goody-goody 2 shows, as I am talking to you, we did have that tease that Kevin Owens may whoop Cody Rhodes' ass, so you could turn him heel. Sami Zayn could be the babyface. It's not like you'll be able to figure them anywhere else on the WrestleMania card if we do what I think we're going to do. So again, just please do Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Maybe it's a stipulation match. Give them a proper 6-month feud as well. Maybe it starts at WrestleMania, as weird as that would be. I know they've done it time and time again, but it's a new regime, and I think Triple H should understand their past, and it would be one of the greatest things I'd ever been a part of, mostly because when it comes to modern day pro wrestlers, I think Kevin Owens is my favorite. And I'll probably do a video about that soon too. I also do believe that WrestleMania 41 will be when we introduce a secondary Women's Championship to proceedings, so you may as well crown someone there, and you may as well do it in a ladder match. I mean, WWE has done this time and time again at the show of shows, and while I do have a list of 6 here, I think this really could be interchangeable, but I think also crowning somebody with a championship like this, given that WWE has never done it before, it will give it the credence, it will give it the pageantry, it will give it the pomp and circumstance that it deserves. So I have gone for Asuka versus Becky versus Io Sky versus Kairi Sane versus Bayley versus Naomi. So I do think Becky Lynch will be back by WrestleMania 41. Again, quite the bold claim, you could say. And you'll be screaming at the television now, or your YouTube device, going, I can't believe you forgot this person. But that is the point. Also, going back to Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, I think Sami Zayn will win. And here, I honestly think you give it to Asuka or Becky Lynch. And I think the reason you do this is because if you put it on someone that used to be a world champion, and you put it on someone that people see as a super duper mega whooper star, people will all of a sudden look at that belt and go, wow, it's not just something we don't need to care about. It's not just a trinket. It is some gold, like the Intercontinental Championship for the men, or like the US Championship for the women. I would probably put it on Becky Lynch. Now that would drive everybody crazy, as it always does, but I think people forget the gravitas that she does have. She is one of the most successful women's stars in WWE history. So if you give that to her, and then she can lose it in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6, but at the same time, if you want to give it to Bayley, I ain't going to get mad. Or even Naomi. Naomi deserves way more than she gets. We see. Now, the next one is super duper controversial, and I want to make it very clear. I would rather this didn't happen, but given some of the chatter in WWE land as of late, and when I kind of went through this card and we got to the men's IC championship, I think there is a slight chance we do Bron Breakker versus a returning Brock Lesnar, who may even come back at the Royal Rumble. Because do not forget, at WrestleMania 40, it was going to be Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. Again, just go do a bit of Googling. There is no smoke without fire. And this will bring up a whole new conversation if it does happen, which I promise that I will talk about it at the time. You just want 2 dudes that are going to kick the crap out of each other. Now, the reason I think it could be Brock is because if Bron Breakker beats him, regardless of all the other stuff, it really would turn Bron into that next level guy, which WWE is obviously hoping for. And it can just be a 5-minute match as they smash each other. But it should be Bron Breakker against someone where we go, oh man, this is quite the test for old Bron. And then Bron doesn't necessarily run through them, but he's like super duper strong. He doesn't back down. He gives them a big old spear, and then he continues to be the IC champion. By that point, he would have held that belt for a long old time. But when I sat down to predict this card, I was moving people around. I had a big question mark next to Bron. Then my brain went, damn it, I think I know who it is. I also think we're going to have the funnest stipulation that maybe we've had in ages. Now, I actually do think it could be the Judgment Day versus the Wyatt Six. I think that could be something there too, because of course Dominic Mysterio has wrecked so many relationships, and this seems to be something that Uncle Howdy doesn't. But if you don't do that, or the rest of the Judgment Day are going to deal with it, because I actually do have Uncle Howdy in a separate match here. That one is so ridiculous. You're going to love it. I think we pull the trigger and we do Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio, hair versus mask. Doesn't have to be the career on the line. Some people said they think Dominic Mysterio should retire his dad. You can do that at some point. But Rey Mysterio is moving way better than he has done in years, so I don't want to see him go anywhere. And he shouldn't lose his mask. We did that in WCW. It was a terrible idea. And I think he wants to retire in that thing. You get no worth of him taking his mask off. I didn't even like it when they did it back with Kane in 2002 or whatever it was. But Dominic Mysterio losing again to his dad on a grand stage and then having to shave his moustache, that should be on the line too, Dominic Mysterio's moustache, and his stupid mullet, I just think it'd be wonderful. Because sometimes you just want to see the dickhead get theirs, and that is Dominic's job. And he is so good at it. And you can have all the shenanigans here with run-ins and oh my gosh, you think Rey Mysterio is going to lose. It also means we can incorporate members of the LWO. Don't mean to be horrible. I don't have them on my WrestleMania card at the moment, just because even over 2 days, it's so hard in 2024 and 2025. But I would do Dom versus Rey. Rey gets the victory, and then yes, you can either hold it off till Raw, or you can do it at WrestleMania. Dominic Mysterio loses all his hair, much like you have to do when you go to jail, so he can go through like some PTSD experience. Also, I just think it would be mega fun. And isn't that the point of WrestleMania and wrestling? To have fun? Let me search my brain. Yes, it is. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, probably for a championship too, I think is most definitely going to happen. I don't think you can stretch the Nia Jax thing out to WrestleMania, which is like 7 months away. I think that would be crazy, but you can build her up as a star. Charlotte Flair has made it very clear on her Instagram and other social media she's probably going to be back before the end of the year, and you just know that WWE is going to be desperate to do this. Now, Tiffany Stratton does get quite big pops, but the last time we saw Charlotte, she was being portrayed as a babyface, even though I think she's a way bigger heel. I actually think Charlotte Flair probably wins this match, which is going to send shockwaves throughout the internet wrestling community. Now, I would have Tiffany win. I really would. Charlotte Flair is cemented for life. I mean, she is way more talented than people give her credit for. And again, she does have aura to her, as we say in the modern day. But Tiffany Stratton gains way more about beating Charlotte at WrestleMania than vice versa. But we've seen WWE do this before, so sometimes you just have to trust your tum-tum and go, well, they're probably going to do it again. I do think the match could be awesome. I mean, it's a passing of the torch in many ways, even if Charlotte does win, because Tiffany Stratton, given her level of experience, how good she is, does kind of feel like a brand new Charlotte Flair, who again kind of just walked in and was like, oh man, I can do this because I'm a really good athlete. So they would have an amazing match, and I think you could build it up really well, and I think it would have WrestleMania feels to it. I just think the outcome, at least the way I see it, may be upsetting someone. But as long as Tiffany Stratton wins the feud overall, you're not just going to do a one and done. I think it will be absolutely fine. But yes, I have Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, and at the end of the day, Charlotte Flair probably going to be a, 16-time champion, 17-time champion. I mean, they took her NXT reigns out of it for some reason. I don't even know anymore. Let's just call her a 32.7-time champ. And just a super quick reminder, my friends, to go to GorillaMind.com/Simon and use the code Simon to get 10% off. There is a link in the description below. But also, if you keep an eye on the website, they are often doing 30% off, especially when it comes to their pre-workout Gorilla Mode. There's a brand new version of this now. It is genuinely the best pre-workout I've ever had in my entire life, which is why I got on board with Gorilla Mind, because I was shouting about it so much. They sent me a message that said, Simon, you may as well be part of the team. It really is the best line of gym supplements I've ever used, and I've been training for over 20 years now, which is quite sad. And they even do stuff like multivitamins now, and it also ships worldwide. So again, it's always 10% off using my code Simon, and if you do keep an eye on GorillaMind.com, you never know, my friends, you may be getting up to 30% off, and they got an array of stuff as well. So check them out today. It supports me, it supports the channel. I appreciate you, and I appreciate it. Now back to the video. The tag team titles will also be on the line, and I think it's going to be the Bloodline versus the Usos, and that's going to be the greatest thing ever, because of course that's Tama Tonga and that's Tangaloa, and it also means over the next 7 months we're going to reunite Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso, which is actually kind of hard. Now Jimmy Uso is off TV, so it's easy for him. He can come back and slot wherever you want. But Jey Uso is so over as a single star, I think you need to tread carefully here. Now, as I'm talking to you, I shouldn't do this because I am cementing the video in September 2000. 2024, it kind of feels like he could win the Intercontinental Championship, but people wouldn't mind. I don't think he will, but he's certainly in that position. So how does he go from there to getting back with Jimmy? It's probably going to involve Roman Reigns and Bloodline versus Bloodline. And then after that, this is where we get to this point. But I do just think it would be awesome. Like, it's all set up. It's all there. The Bloodline are the tag team champions, and given that WWE don't seem to care about those belts at the moment, you probably could have them be the champions until WrestleMania. And then it means the Usos get another WrestleMania moment. I'm never going to get mad at that. People are still talking about their match at WrestleMania 40, which I think has become this weird outer conversation all of its own. It was not as bad as some people made out. It did not reach the expectations we expected. I would call it a solid, maybe slightly subpar match. It ain't a train wreck. It ain't boring. It just didn't work as intended. But even still, I think that would be awesome. You also get a title change. You want to make sure you're doing some title changes across WrestleMania weekend. I'll be excited about that. And as we all know, Tangaloa is the greatest wrestler ever. Now this one, I'm not sure about at all. I imagine it would be for the other women's championship, because I do think Rhea Ripley will win it back before WrestleMania and take it off Liv Morgan. And I think Raquel Rodriguez is going to come back to the WWE soon. Now, on a personal level, she has been through so much health stuff, it would be really hard to portray her as a heel at first. But I've always said I think the potential in Raquel, given her size, given that she's super jacked, would be as a bad guy. So if you have Rhea Ripley, who right now is like a super duper megastar, you can't turn her heel. That would be ridiculous. You could even argue she only just turned properly. But she is also super jacked and can whoop your ass. I would bring Raquel Rodriguez back as a babyface, and then as we get into 2025, I would find a way to make her a bad guy. Because again, once she's on TV week in, week out, we'll just be like, oh cool, she's back. That's really good for her. I'm pleased. Again, I would turn her into a bad guy, and I would just have big men slapping man meat, the women version, and just have these two smash each other at WrestleMania. It would be so damn good. If you build it up in the right way, you can even sell Raquel as, oh my gosh, she's more powerful than Rhea Ripley. And if Rhea Ripley sells that too, I think given her fan base, they'd be like, oh my gosh, what's she gonna do? So when He-Man fights Skeletor, so we're totally boned, and then He-Man gets the win. Like, I like Raquel, but we're probably gonna have to invest more time in her before she needs a big win at WrestleMania. So Rhea Ripley can absolutely win that. Maybe you can come up with some, not shenanigans, but some kind of slip on a banana peel, and then you continue to build Raquel Rodriguez as this sort of ultimate villain, and she can win a title down the line. I do think that comes across as a big win for Rhea Ripley. Again, if you sell Raquel in the right way, and then she gives her a mega riptide, I just like those kind of matches. Don't overthink it. Just let them go totally crazy. Then obviously Rhea Ripley returns her belt, because again, you think Rhea Ripley is big now? She's going to explode through the sky. And then we move on to what could be for the Men's World Championship, the Raw version, although I don't think it will be. I think it's just going to be a grudge match. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. We are wrapping up the Drew McIntyre stuff as I'm talking to you now at Bad Blood. We'll probably revisit it at some point, but I think you need to give those two some space. And it was what we were meant to do at WrestleMania 40. Then CM Punk got hurt, and that moved everything with The Rock and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Totally nuts. And people want to see it. And I don't think we need to do it on a random pay-per-view premium live event. I don't think we need to do it on a random television show, even though WWE is moving to Netflix. You want to do it on the grandest stage. Now, the only reason I think a title could be involved here is because then they will main event one of the nights, and that's what they were meant to do again in 2024, and it's something that CM Punk has always wanted. The only reason I don't think it will is because I have another match here that we'll get to in just 1 second, but I honestly don't think it matters. Like, again, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk is drowning in not only new information or new experiences, but old experiences too. Like, as soon as Punk got hurt, we kind of veered away from all the stories, but they will be able to tell so many tales, and it will just be like doing a Drew McIntyre program part 2, but even better, because we saw how far Drew went, and Seth will do the same, so you can get excited about it. I think CM Punk probably wins, which is totally crazy, given that Seth Rollins has always been Mr. WWE. But sometimes the numbers don't lie, and CM Punk is a numbers guy. That rhymes, so it must be the case. But either way, they're not going to do a one and done either, so it depends how we have treated this leading into the damn thing. I don't think they can't fight before WrestleMania. That would be nuts. But coming out of the other side, if you can come up with, a match that Seth Rollins wins, and then you do whatever you want for the trilogy, it's just old school wrestling booking. But it would still get me excited again, because there was genuine animosity there. And I'm not done with the Drew stuff from a approach point of view. What they did was perfect. So just bring Seth Rollins in there, do it again. Seth can have a more serious edge. I think this one will rule, but actually give it to CM Punk. I've got a random one here as well, but I sat down and I thought, what can Drew McIntyre do that is worthy of the palaver that he's caused in 2024. I don't think he'll be in a championship match. You're going to find out after this. It's weird the way I've stacked this card, but it's fun, random matches. But I do think he deserves something that feels huge. I think he should take on Randy Orton. Now, WWE will get off on this because it's going to be Raw versus SmackDown guy, which they do like doing on WrestleMania, and I have another match for that too. But Randy Orton is just massive, right? He's probably the biggest legacy star that WWE has from a full-time perspective. And again, Drew has turned himself into a player. I'd love to see Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus because I know it would mean a lot to them, but we kind of saw it at WrestleMania 38 or 39, wherever it was, with the triple threat match with Gunther for the IC title. I want something different. And if you can portray this in the right way, then, again, who's going to win? Randy comes across as a massive star. Drew has become a massive star. If Drew could beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania, all of a sudden that opens so many doors up for him that maybe some will close a little bit just because he loses to CM Punk at Bad Blood, which I do think will happen. I think it all depends on whether we're going to do Cody versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 41. However, as you're going to see, and you've seen from the thumbnail, I don't think we are going to do that. So that leaves Randy Orton open. That leaves Drew McIntyre open. So just smush them together and put them in a relationship. And if it was me, I would have Drew McIntyre win, especially because I think the Randy Orton and Cody stuff will happen post WrestleMania 41, and that's when Randy can get his heat back, and I say this quietly, so people don't get mad at me. I just think that Randy Orton should beat Cody for the world title. We'll talk about it when we do get to our World Heavyweight Championship match, which is why I've pushed everything away, and I believe this will main event night one, Gunther versus John Cena. I just think it's wonderful. People don't like hearing this, and people are like, oh no, we can't do it. I'm not saying that John Cena should win, although again, I think he probably could do. But Gunther is the perfect opponent for him. I love John Cena, but John Cena is the first person to admit he's not the John Cena of old. He's a little bit slower, his bones ache a little bit more. Plus, he can't go too crazy because of his Hollywood movie career, even though he is going to do a year with WWE. But with Gunther, who is a proper old school wrestler, and is going to rely on chops, and is going to rely on a slow pace, much like he did at Bash in Berlin with Randy Orton, John Cena can work that. John Cena can sell his ass off, and I just think fans would be so into this because Gunther comes across at the final boss. John Cena would be going after his world-breaking WWE title run number 17, whatever the flub it was. It's such an easy story to tell, and it can go both ways. If John Cena loses, he's John Cena. His redemption can come a few months after this, and if John Cena does win, you get a lot of people annoyed that he beat Gunther. Awesome, that's good for content, and also it would be a lovely moment to end WrestleMania Night 1, right? It really then would also redefine this stupid argument. People go, oh man, Saturday Night 1 doesn't count as a main event. Yes, it does. You're still being asked to close the show, even though there'll be a proper closer in 24 hours. I think we should just do it. I think bringing dream matches into the equation when John Cena has stated he will not do anything else after 2025. Let's not stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. Let's get it done. I say Gunther versus John Cena. And you can even have John Cena run the Royal Rumble, but no, I wouldn't do it. Logan Paul will also have a match on WrestleMania, given that he's got like a $5 million deal. And do you know who I would feed him to? AJ flipping Styles. I kind of feel like these two have fought, but I don't think they have fought. I looked it up, and I was like, why do I have memories of this? But either way, they haven't done it on WrestleMania. Now, we haven't seen AJ Styles in a while as I'm talking to you. I'm sure he'll come back and get into a different feud. But I just think AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers ever, and Logan Paul is kind of, he's not one of the best wrestlers ever, but in terms of the style that AJ Styles helped bring in, it was the worst sentence I've ever said in my life, Logan Paul clearly has subscribed to that theory. So if you're working with one of the GOATs of said approach, this could be really good. And Logan Paul doesn't have bad matches. Like, say what you want about his personal life, I get it, totally different. But everything with Roman Reigns was good, the Cody Rhodes stuff was good, everything with Ricochet was good. So I would just do AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. It can go at any point over Saturday or Sunday, and AJ Styles ain't going to let you down. And also, if you go through AJ Styles matches over the last few years, LA Knight, Edge, etc., they does kind of fit the mold, right? You put him with someone where you just know he's going to have a good match. Sometimes it's better than others. Sometimes it's a little bit disappointed, like the Edge match, but AJ has talked about it. I'm pretty confident that one. I think we're going to do Logan Paul versus AJ Styles, and I want AJ Styles to win. Right, okay, speaking of LA Knight, he has a US championship. I don't think he should lose that for a while. I have said that time and time again. So I've come up with a really dumb match, okay? But I had him against a few people, and I was like, it doesn't quite work because it leaves this guy off, it leaves that guy off. And WWE does like doing one multi-man match one night and one multi-person the other night. So you can have the women's ladder match on one night, and on the other night, it doesn't have to be a ladder match, but it can have some kind of stipulation to it. And I think, as always, WWE loves doing this. It'll be 3 guys from Raw and 3 guys from SmackDown. So you'd have LA Knight and you would have Carmella Hayes and Andrade. We've already put that in place now. But I don't think that can be the feud all the way to WrestleMania. That would be bonkers. So you bring 3 Raw guys in there, which I think should be Ilya Dragunov, because that guy at WrestleMania would be hilarious. That's where Uncle Howdy can feature, because as much as I like the Wyatt Six as an entity, I think if you want to build him up in the right way, he has to be on WrestleMania. And I'd probably throw Braun Strowman in there too, because he can be an amazing base as people kind of fly in and around him. Now, there'll be other people I'm not thinking about right now, and I'll get mad, but I kind of compare it in a weird way to Armageddon 2000 when we did the 6-way Hell in a Cell for the WWE title, and it was Kurt Angle that retained. LA Knight should walk away, but by the skin of his teeth. Even though he's a good guy, I should be like, oh my gosh, how did I survive that? And also, it will break up the card really nicely. They can go totally crazy. Everybody will have fun, but let me make it very clear. LA Knight should totally win. I actually think he probably needs a year's reign. We move back to the other women's championship, although that's 3 women's championships I've done now, so I've made a mistake there somewhere. The point is this: I totally believe we're going to do Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. Don't need to overly talk about it because I think it's nice and simple. You know, you basically have them as the tag team champions as they are now. They do all right for a little bit, eventually they fall out, and then maybe you can have one match in the 2nd or the 3rd at WrestleMania. Jade Cargill probably needs to win just to sort of cement her as a star, but ultimately it doesn't matter because Bianca Belair, I think, is probably the most underutilized person in WWE. She should be treated like a Cody Rhodes or a Rock. That's how good I think she is, especially on the babyface side. I mean, she's so damn likable. But hopefully all of this will help Jade Cargill and give her the experience that WWE needs. And you do it at WrestleMania. So 1, it reminds you that WWE are investing in long-term stories. And 2, it will just make both of them feel like huge deals, which they are. I think it would be awesome. I think it would be great. I'd love to see it. And I think they'll prove a lot of the naysayers wrong. What better place to do that than WrestleMania? Which leaves us to our last 2 matches. I think it's pretty clear now we're going to do Roman Reigns versus Jacob for 2. I'm speaking to you a few days after the first SmackDown, or the re-first SmackDown, the re-debut of SmackDown on the USA Network. And WWE made sure to do Jacob looking at Roman and Roman looking at Jacob. You could do it at the Royal Rumble maybe, or you can do it at another show. I just don't think. I mean, maybe they'll do it in Saudi Arabia, but I think that will suck. I think you hold it off to WrestleMania. Roman Reigns will probably win. But I like Solo Sikoa. I think he gets a hard rap, especially on the internet. But Jacob for 2 is clearly going to be a super duper whooper star, as we've talked about throughout this video. So put him in a big super duper whooper match. You get some people going, oh, it's not big enough for Roman Reigns. Well, Roman Reigns wouldn't have been able to become Roman Reigns unless he was fighting people like John Cena and The Undertaker and everybody else. So now we got to do the same for Jacob Fatu, right? Just let them go at it for 15 minutes, kick each other's ass. It put Roman Reigns in a great position because he doesn't have to main event, because we've done way too many main events with Roman Reigns, unless we're going to do Roman Reigns versus The Rock. But again, we have a 2-night SummerSlam next year. You can even hold that off to WrestleMania 42. I think that benefits from a long-term perspective. Do Roman versus Jacob, and as much as I'd love to see Jacob win, he's not going to, and Roman Reigns will win. Which, of course, means my big main event is Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I just can't believe we would do this at a Royal Rumble or a random Netflix show after the big leave The Rock took when he gave, the special something to Cody Rhodes, the magic present that we'll find about down the line. Like, why leave once again on such a high note to then not do it at WrestleMania? Do it at WrestleMania, right? Especially, again, I think SummerSlam is when we can do The Rock versus Roman Reigns, because it's 2 nights, and WWE are going to be desperate to turn it into WrestleMania 2, or as I like to call it, Hot WrestleMania. I also think, given that Roman Reigns is going to be off doing his own thing, he can probably get involved here. And look, we've already teased that Cody and The Rock Cody and Roman don't like each other. So maybe Roman gets involved for some reason, and he's the reason The Rock loses. That's fine. And then Cody Rhodes can be like, damn it, you did it again, you stupid tribal chief. I could have beaten that guy. And look, I imagine The Rock would like that. We don't need to talk about it, but it does kind of feel like he's trying to protect himself. I even have this idea that maybe The Rock wins the Royal Rumble, which would get a big pop, and again, it would lead to the Cody Rhodes match. I just think we should do it. I think sometimes the simplest option is the best option, and we can then start talking about, there's no way Cody Rhodes is doing these interviews going, oh man, you should have heard what the original plan is. I can't talk about it. They're going to talk about it, and they're going to talk about it during this feud. It's going to be crazy insider baseball, and The Rock is going to be crazy owner guy, and I actually think it'll be damn brilliant. And I think on that Sunday night in Las Vegas, when we're watching this, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. That's only going to help Cody's star appeal too, and he is the face of the company along with Roman Reigns. I'm convinced we're going to do it. And if not, what? I get it a couple of months beforehand, I'm still going to be a happy loser nerd fan. Now, we will wrap up this video because that was way too long. Please do get in the comments and let me know how stupid this card was, and give me your card as well, because we may be able to extrapolate them and do a video too. Then interact with the video as much as you can. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen to get more of my stupid content. Otherwise, talked about Gorilla Mind. It's patreon.com/SimonMiller316. A Go Fitness, which I'm affiliated with. If you'd like to train at home, and use the code Simon20 to get 20% off that as well. Come say hello on social media at SimonMiller316, Simon Miller on TikTok. No, Simon Miller on Cameo, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, and ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon. Buy my t-shirts, because it's always cool to see somebody wearing your merchandise. Otherwise, enjoy wrestling, my friends, because it is just cool. I'll see you soon.